if you look at all diets, and especially those who've engaged in diets for years and again, decades, they're very confused about food because this diet says fats are bad. And then this diet says carbs are bad. And then this one says meats are bad. And so there's all this conflicting information. In fact, we have too much information and we've just gotten so far away from that intuitive signaling, that real desire to know whether or not we are hungry or full and what it is that actually our body is craving. Because the moment we start dieting, we no longer are listening to our body. We're following a meal plan. We're following this app that's telling us what to eat at what time. And we're not actually checking in with ourselves to see how we can actually be independent and start to allow the natural signaling of the body to be able to call for the foods that it needs.
Welcome back, friends. I'm your host, Shaban. And with each episode, I am honored to be your coach and guide in the journey to make peace with food, fall in love with fitness, and ultimately yourself. My intention in each episode is to help you release the old story of who you are and step into the one you're always meant to be. We'll challenge conventional diet and fitness culture and understand the importance of tuning out all the shoulds they tell us to do and tuning into our own inner wisdom instead. What you focus on, you create more of. Through these conversations, you'll shift your focus from what you're supposed to be doing to who you want to be, so that health and fitness and ease around food is not just what you do, but who you are. And if you find that this conversation resonates with you today, then I want to invite you to join our free Make Peace with Food Facebook community at myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com, where you can connect with me and my team directly and access all the free trainings and resources we have for you so you can regulate your nervous system and make peace with food. And then also remember to share this episode with someone who you think needs to hear this today. The links are in the show notes. All right, now let's get into it.
Well, I'm anti-diet because after being in the space for almost 25 years, you realize that it doesn't work, right? And maybe it works in the short time, maybe it works while we're on it, but diets don't necessarily teach us anything. And then what we also notice is that those who are frequently dieting are always dieting and they're not achieving their results. And in fact, if you just observe their trajectory in the last years, if not decades, it's actually going in the opposite direction in which they are intending. And on top of that, dieting also creates what is called a scarcity mindset. So we start to view food very differently. And then because of that scarcity, because of that feeling of not enoughness, and of course, couple that with shame and guilt and a lot of self-value, we start to develop binge eating disorders or unwanted eating behaviors where we're overeating and we're tending to engage in this behavior that is quite irrational, illogical, and wasn't there before we started dieting. And yet when we observe people with unwanted eating behavior who also say that they love food, well, they're eating this food so quickly. They're not even being mindful with the food. They're not even sitting with the food. And I'll tell you that when we love something, that's where we actually want to spend time with it. That's where we want to treasure it. And so food in our society has become a means of really controlling the way that you look, controlling your body, and shaming yourself through this whole process where you're wanting to look a different way or you're thinking that you should look a different way. And so that's from a psychological perspective. However, if you look at all diets, and especially those who've engaged in diets for years and again, decades, they're very confused about food because this diet says fats are bad. And then this diet says carbs are bad. And then this one says meats are bad. And so there's all this conflicting information. In fact, we have too much information. And we've just gotten so far away from that intuitive signaling, that real desire to know whether or not we are hungry or full and what it is that actually our body is craving. Because the moment we start dieting, we no longer are listening to our body. We're following a meal plan. We're following this app that's telling us what to eat at what time. And we're not actually checking in with ourselves to see how we can actually be independent and start to allow the natural signaling of the body to be able to call for the foods that it needs. And so this also doesn't mean that you're going to eat as much pizza as you want and as much donuts as you want and that there's no impact. But what it actually means is if you allow your body to choose, it's always going to choose nutrients. And the body doesn't count calories as we have been told in society. Our body counts nutrients, which is why if I would give you a bag of apples, let's say a 2-pound bag of apples, and then I would give you a box of Oreo cookies, It's so easy to finish a row or two of Oreo cookies. But then if you were trying to consume the entire bag of apples, you probably couldn't make it past 3 or 4 because your body, again, counts the nutrients. And so when we step away from diet culture and we really start to listen to our body and we start to allow for us to really enjoy the food and the pleasures of life, because that really is what food is. Food is the pleasure of life. What we start to notice is that there is no more scarcity mindset. There is no, I have to eat this all right now because on Monday my diet is starting. Or, dang, I had some carbs and I totally ruined everything. Well, I may as well just eat the entire box since I had one cookie. And so we get away from that type of thought process and instead get very comfortable around, first of all, being hungry, and very comfortable also just knowing what is enough for our body and what our body actually needs. But that's what I help them do, is to release the diet mindset. And instead of focusing on, for example, wanting to release 30 pounds, what I assist them in doing is helping them become the person who is 30 pounds lighter. And when you get to that place, you're no longer restricting food. You're no longer worried about weight. You're no longer fixated or obsessed even about how much you're eating, what you've eaten, and what the consequences of that is. And then your health and fitness journey just becomes so enjoyable, so lovable, so easy, so in flow. And more importantly, something that you can sustain, where there's no this on the wagon and falling off the wagon and I'm on again and I'm back on and off again. How about we just find that place that feels right for us, which looks a little bit different for each person. And from that place, really just be able to live life and experience what's here for us instead of just focusing on food, body image, and weight for the majority of our lives. If the topic around anti-diet and really uncovering unwanted eating behavior resonated with you, and you notice that you're in a space where you've been struggling maybe with your weight or your health for so long and feeling that it's a discipline issue or a motivation issue, then first and foremost, I'll tell you that it's not at all the case. It's actually a nervous system issue. And if you're looking for more resources around that, I do have a free workbook that I share on makepeacewithfood.com, where you can start to work through some of these habits that you're engaged in. And then again, more importantly, better understand what's really at the root of the issue. And it's not around the food and the weight and around, again, the motivation discipline, which is what diet culture has unfortunately always fed us.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Whether you're already on your wellness journey or just getting started, we're in this together. If this has resonated with you today, I want to invite you to subscribe to the show so you never miss a beat. And if you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, then please share this episode with them. Let's work together to help as many people as possible make peace with food and fall in love with fitness. And also, don't forget to visit myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com to join the free Facebook group for more resources. Remember, you are an inspiration. I can't wait to hear your story. See you next time.